Hi everyone, welcome to StockAlgos.com, where we're attempting to bring Wall Street to Main Street. We do this through two different ways. The first way is through our predictor app or leaderboard. This is where you can come on and you can make a prediction on any stock that you like. You can select, hey, I think Apple is going to go up by 5%, and you specify a time frame. You can specify a reason why and even include an image. And what we're doing is we're essentially evaluating how well that stock is doing as your prediction progresses till completion. So we're trying to see who the best people are at actually predicting the market and creating a global leaderboard of stock market predictors instead of people just posting random research and no one being able to really track how well that person can actually predict the market. We run a monthly stock competition or prediction competition where we essentially give out money to the top 3 every single month. And this is completely free to use. You can come on, make predictions, start seeing how well you do on a hypothetical basis if your calls are correct before actually investing. You can even follow people who have a proven track record of being good investors. Once you get to a position where you're making good market predictions and people are following you, you can monetize your following. So you can set up a subscription, enter how much you want to charge, connect your Stripe account, and people can actually subscribe to your premium post. You can still have free posts, but you can have posts that you only offer to your premium members, maybe ones that include a higher level of research. In the free section, you could maybe show people that you know what you're talking about for the first time. So yeah, this is completely free to use. It's meant to actually help you make money. And it's kind of meant to also help people not get into pump and dumps. So if someone dumps a stock prior to it actually fulfilling what they've thought would happen, then their score on here gets hurt too. So yeah, just really trying to fight for the retail traders. The second component is our research section. So here at the top, you can see that there are a bunch of different tools. You can click, it'll bring you to that tool. I'll walk you through each one of these tools in progression, but first, when you first land on the dashboard, this is what you'll see. So you can see at the top, you can specify stocks that you're following, and what it's doing up here is it's actually updating all of the apps with whatever stock symbol you have here. But you can go into each individual app and enter in the stock there, and it won't update the other apps. If you want to check out our older layout, this is how it looked, where each one of these apps is its own separate component. So if you've been with us for a while, you're probably more used to this layout. You can see that there's kind of info about each tool here, and then like an explainer video on how to use the tool. And if you want to go manage your watch list, this is a pretty cool feature that we have where you can go in and you can either specify certain stocks that you want to add that you're following, or you can create a dynamic watch list. And this is essentially a watch list that updates every single day. And I'll give you an example. So here, basically what it's doing is there's a bunch of tools that we're going to walk through. And you can create a watch list depending on whatever tool you value. So a good example would be the Congress trading app, which we will go into. You can create a watch list that will update every single day that will be the most traded Congress stocks. And if you ever want to just import that, and you can see there's filters here, and these filters are similar to what you're going to see in the Congress trading app. You can just simply import it here and it'll auto update everywhere. You can see it's populated, but you can also just upload watch lists into specific apps as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and reset that. And then, yeah, so another pretty cool thing that is in beta is our Stock GPT app. And what this is doing is essentially, whenever you scroll, it knows what's on your screen, or it knows the data that's displayed here. So I can ask it based off these fundamental ratios, what do you think the best stocks are? And it gives you an answer based off PE, PB, all of this stuff. If you ever have a question on what a ratio is, you can ask it as well. We do try to make this super user-friendly. We want you to learn when you're here. So we do even explain what all these ratios are, at least for the Fundamentals Tools app. You can scroll and see a lot more ratios. This is meant to help you compare a lot of different stocks to actually find things that are good investments based off how well the company's actually performing. You can sort this list of like 5,000 stocks by by these ratios as well. So QXO appears at the top for the highest current ratio. It has the best ability to pay its debt in the short term. But you can also go to the lowest end, and you can see these don't even have current ratios. So if you don't want to see blank values, you can click this and you can see 0 appear. So sometimes our system can't actually fetch specific ratios for stocks, and it'll still populate as a blank value, but you can specify ranges for any one of these ratios that you'd like. So also we have an expandable view, and we can do that by clicking market cap and clicking on Apple. So this is actually our graph section. You can see Apple stock. You can apply a bunch of different indicators onto the stock, and our system will actually save those indicators. So if you open up, you can see a bunch of different follow-up charts appearing down here. So if I were to close this screen and then open up another screen, you can see that my preferences are saved at the top. Those things will still appear in the charting section. So that's one component. And if you wanted to see a higher breakdown of the fundamentals of Apple, we do that. Once again, you can click and go through and see a better breakdown. So that is our fundamental tools. We have a lot of tools. The next one is our Congress trading app, and this one is very similar to our insider trading app, which you'll see next. There's two options, one individual data and the other group data. So if I want to see an overview of the Congress trading market, I can do that by clicking the group data. And there's a bunch of different filters here. So I can either search by stock or I can search by specific politicians. A common one would be Nancy Pelosi. And you can see all the stocks that she's in, the number of transactions she's done, and the cost ranges. You can see a breakdown, how much, and this is also available in the individual data view as well. But a pretty cool feature is if I want to see the stocks that have the most number of participants, we can do that. So Apple has had 10 different members of Congress in the last 4 months trade their stock and do 17 different transactions. I can dive in and see who each of these Congress members are. So that's one example. If I only wanted to see the purchase transactions, it's filtered once again. So 6 different participants doing 7 different purchase transactions. Insiders, very similar concept. We've got the group data auto selected. We can select the date range here, specify any date frame we want, and it'll scan the market for insider trades that have occurred in that period. Insider trading, a lot of people actually get confused, but if someone works at a company and publicly discloses to the SEC that they're going to buy or sell stock within 1 day, they can do that. They make an announcement to the market so people know that this person is investing, and it's not really done silently. I believe they're also meant to hold for a certain range as well. So there's certain implications the SEC has for people to actually do insider trading. But you can benefit off that. So if the CEO is buying in their stock, maybe they know something. And if a lot of different members inside that company, if the CEO, SVP are all doing something, maybe it's for a specific reason, especially if it's happening over a certain time frame. But you might also see that a lot of the times the transaction might not come up as like a binary buy or sale. It could be a proposed sale. It could be an option transaction. So I'd be weary of that as I navigated this. The next tool is our hedge fund tool. I think it's a pretty powerful tool. It essentially gives you the breakdown of what hedge funds are holding. You can see here that there's two different options. So there's a buy stock option and a buy super investor option. The default is buy super investor. So we can see Warren Buffett, portfolio value, the number of stocks he holds, the sectors that he holds in, the last time it was updated. So it's usually done on a quarterly basis. And you can see what he's actually holding, what percentage the stock is of the portfolio, the number of shares, the price, and the value of those shares. You can even see the history of how Warren Buffett has traded the stock quarterly. Something I think is pretty cool is if we click the buy stock button, we can see that if I wanted to see an overview of basically all the hedge fund trading activity on Apple, I could do that. So here we see Apple, 415 million shares are owned by institutions. Total monetary value, about 88 billion. Total average purchase price, average amount of shares owned, average value, average percent of portfolio, and the average percent change. And then we dive in and we can see who owns what. We do also encourage that if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to us in our contact us section. More than happy to always help. The next tool is our government awarded contracts. Very similar premise, very similar things to filter by off to the left. But all it's doing is it's telling you which companies have government contracts and how much those contracts are for. So oftentimes it can be seen that if a company has a lot of connections to the government or a lot of these larger contracts, it's more safe. There are also larger contracts, etc. So you can see a breakdown here. And sometimes, who knows, maybe the market hasn't really factored in that the government has awarded a contract or it hasn't jumped, and you can find little diamonds in the rough. And this is our earnings tool where you can see how well stocks have done leading up to their earning dates. So the actual price action change leading up to the earnings. You can specify if you want to see stocks that have earnings results in the morning or in the afternoon. This tool is a bit more tricky because we offer you to back reference earnings. So you can see here September 23rd, but we can also go and see how well a stock did or upcoming earnings in future days. And this data field will still populate, but it'll update every single day with how the actual price action leading up. You can sort over here by different things like earnings per share surprise, highest rev, lowest rev. X dividends, very similar, but essentially all it's telling you is stocks that either have their upcoming dividend or how well they did leading up to their dividend, and you can see the price action of those stocks as well. The main reason for this is because sometimes a company will release how much they're going to give a dividend for, and all the dividend investors jump in. So you can see if it's more statistically likely that there will be a price rise before the dividend is actually released so people can get that tax benefit. And then you can see how much the stock actually adjusted. So how much the dividend payout was, and then if maybe it rebounded or it had a larger sell-off the next day, and if it's statistically likely to do that, maybe you can enter in and do some form of trading on that stock when it has its dividend day, or you can try to capture the dividend. correlation, when it first loads, you're going to see by default this screen. I think that this is kind of cool. So you can compare two stocks or many stocks and how well. Sometimes it'll show. You can just rerun it if it ever does that, or you can't actually see the second line. But it'll show you how much each stock changed over the course of the day, or over many days. Specify a start date and end date for that range where it'll check the historical data. And you can play around with this. You can also add other stocks. It'll do the same thing. Something I think is pretty powerful that I haven't really seen elsewhere is I can find correlated stocks for like Apple and Google. So if I want to see the most correlated tradable assets to Apple, we can see this JP Morgan Global Select Equity ETF, JGLO, has an 80% correlation. So maybe like if the volatility is going to be crazy on Apple, but it's not crazy on JGLO, that could be a great trading strategy as well if you were playing options and volatility. Anyway, that's our correlation tool. We have a bunch of different other tools like our option screener tool, our option time decay tool, our IPOs tool, and our FDA stock analysis tool. We'll make separate videos going over each one of these as well, and probably for each individual app. But yeah, I appreciate you staying along for the ride, and hope you get value out of our platform. Thanks.